Okay, today you are going to do 11.4, which is finding the intercept of a graph. So, first write down today's objective. Students will represent quantitative relationships graphically and interpret the meaning of a specific part of the graph, like for instance today, the intercept. Example 1 is finding intercepts of a line. You're going to find the x-intercept of the graph of the equation y equals 3x plus 6. So I need you to write all that down.
What if I break this?
Are you talking? Be quiet. I asked you to be quiet.
You let him sit on it? He's pretty heavy, Miss Kid. I'm break this right now.
Who said that? All right. So write the original equation, y equals 3x plus 6. In order to find x, when we have two variables in an equation, x and y, we're going to make one of them 0. So we're going to make y 0 to find the x-intercept. So substitute y for 0. After you substitute y for 0, or 0 for y, then you try to isolate the variable x. So by doing that, we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. So when you subtract, So when you subtract 6 from this side and subtract 6 from this side, these get crossed out. We have 3x by itself, and 0 minus 6 is negative 6. Then we still need to continue getting the x by itself, so we're going to divide this side by 3. Then we're going to divide this side by 3. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2 equals x. X equals negative 2. This is where it's going to intercept x. So that means if I have a graph along my x, I go to negative 2 right here. That means my line is going to intercept x right there at negative 2. Okay?
Bless you.
So now we have to find the y-intercept. We found the x, now we have to find the y. In order to find the y, so now you're going to find the y. You don't have to write the example again, you already wrote it. Now to find the y, we're going to make x 0. So we replace x with the number 0. 3 times 0 is 0. And 0 plus 6 is 6. On this one, it's a little easier because the y is already isolated by itself. So you don't have to isolate y. You just make x 0 and solve the problem. So that means the y, the line that you're drawing, is going to intercept y at the number 6. So remember, we're intercepting x at negative 2. We're intercepting y at 6. And we'll show you what that looks like. So on a graph, if x is negative 2, I'll just say about right here. And y is 6. I'm going to move this a little taller. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe about right there. And then the line that gets drawn. So this line is for the equation y equals 3x plus 6. So just make sure that you have all of this written down. All right? Next page. Example 2, sketching a quick graph. So we're going to find the x-intercept, then we're going to find the y, and we're going to sketch it on the graph. Okay? So in order to find the x, if I want to solve for x, I have to make y 0. Make sure you have all this written down, by the way. The example, finding the x-intercept, all this we're going to do right now. And then finding the y, and we're going to do all that. Okay, so finding the x. We make y 0, and then we actually work it out. What's 6 times 0? 0. 4x plus 0 then is just 4x. So this is how we got 4x equals 408. Then we're going to divide by 4 to solve for x. Divide both sides by 4. 4x divided by 4 is just x, and 408 divided by 4 is 102. So the x-intercept is 102. The y we made 0. So this is your ordered pair, 102, 0. And now the y-intercept. So on the y-intercept, we're going to make y, or x, I'm sorry, 0. And we're going to solve for y. So we're going to make x 0. 4 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 6y is 6y equals 408. Now we're going to divide by 6 to get rid of the 6 that's with the y. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1y is just y by itself. 408 divided by 6 is 68. So the y-intercept is 68. So we made x 0, and we found for y that it's 68. So now you have your two ordered pairs. So now we're going to sketch the graph of the two coordinate pairs, 102 and 0, and 0, 68. So let's graph this. Now notice, just like the earlier today on your graphs that you did in class, I told you don't have to count by 1, right? Well, if I'm graphing all the way to 102, the last thing I want to do is count by 1. I don't even want to count by 2. So we're going to count by 30. Okay, so this graph skips a line and then 30, skips a line 60, skips a line 90, skips 120, skips 150. And does the same thing on the y-axis here. Okay, so we skip a line and then we have 30, skip a line and then we have 60. Okay, so let me erase those little dots I made. I didn't mean to. I just wanted you to see how this graph is made. So the first dot we're going to graph is 102 on the x and 0 on the y. So 102 on the x would be 90. Here's about 105, so 102 is going to be about right here. And the y is 0, so we just leave that dot there. We don't go up or down if y is 0. Now x is 0, so I'm not going to go left or right because x is 0. I'm just going to go straight up to 68. So here's 60, 68, maybe about right here, in between. And then the line we're going to draw goes from one dot to the other. Okay? So this is the line for the equation we had on the previous page. Sorry, give me a second. 4x plus 6y equals 408. 4x plus 6y equals 408. So that equation can be graphed on this line in this way. All right. So let's identify the intercepts of this graph. So all you're identifying is where does this line cross x and where does it cross y. So it crosses x at the number 4, so that means the x-intercept is 4. It crosses y at the number 2, so the y-intercept is 2. That's it. So x-intercept is 4, y-intercept is 2. On this one, identify the intercepts of the graph. So the x-intercept, where it crosses x, is 2. So x-intercept is 2. And the y-intercept is where the graph crosses y. If you can pause it and try to find it on your own first before I do, that's a good idea. And you should have got -1. Make sure you're drawing these graphs in your notes. If you didn't, go back and do that. All right, the intercepts of this is the last one we're going to do, finding intercepts. So the x-intercept is -2. I'm just going to abbreviate here. And the y-intercept is also -2. So this one, the first step you would do here if you're trying to find the x-intercept. If you're trying to find the x-intercept, it means you want to solve for x. I want to isolate x. So remember, your first step is make y 0. Okay, so the first step is to substitute y for 0. You want to take out that y and put a 0 there. So let y equal 0. Your next step, so on this one, they want us to find the y-intercept. So what would be the first step here? If you're finding the y-intercept, what do you want to happen? You have to make x then 0. So here you would substitute x for 0. Basically, you substitute the opposite of the one you're finding. Okay? So if I'm finding the y-intercept, I substitute x for 0. If I'm finding the x-intercept, I substitute y for 0. Okay? Now, let's find the intercept of this graph. So, if we're finding the x-intercept, we'll do x-intercept first. Then we have to substitute y for 0. So we're going to say x plus 0 equals 5. And now let's solve for x. X plus 0 is just x. You're not adding anything to it. So x equals what? 5. So the x-intercept is 5. So I'm graphing that. And now let's find the y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, we're going to make x 0. So 0 plus y equals 5. 0 plus y, if you're not adding anything to y, then it's just y. So the y-intercept is 5. So there's our line for this graph. There you go. Okay? That was an easy one. X minus y equals 5. So again, finding the intercepts, if you make x 0, or I'll say make y 0, we'll find the x-intercept first again. So to find the x-intercept, make y 0. X minus 0 is 5. If you're not subtracting anything away from x, then x is already by itself. X is 5. Any number minus 0 is going to be that number. So x is just 5 then. On the y-intercept, we're going to make x 0. 0 minus y is 5. Now this is a little bit different. Okay, 0 minus y is going to get you negative y equals 5. You can't have negative y, because remember there's a coefficient here of 1, right? So we have to divide by negative 1 on both sides. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1, so now I've made that positive. But 5 divided by negative 1 is negative 5, so now I've made the 5 negative. So y is negative 5. So that one's going to go this way. And now this one's going to be a line going down. Again here, to find the x-intercept, This is the last example I'll show you. To find the x-intercept, we're going to make y 0. So for finding the x-intercept, we're going to make y 0. 0 equals 5/4 x plus 3. In order to get x by itself, x is being multiplied by 5/4. We're going to divide by 5/4. So 5/4 x divided by 5/4 plus 3. Okay? 5/4 divided by 5/4 is 1. And of course, you're going to have to divide 0 by 5/4 on the other side. Okay? So we can erase that 0 right there. You're going to have 0 divided by 5/4 here. Okay? So 0 divided by 5/4 is 0. 5/4 divided by 5/4 is just x now by itself, plus 3. Subtract 3 on both sides, so you're going to get negative 3 over here equals x. So the x-intercept is negative 3. I'm going to do the y-intercept in a different color so we don't get confused. Y-intercept. Now we're going to substitute x for 0. So now we're going to have y equals 5/4 times 0, x is 0, plus 3. Y equals 5/4 times 0 is 0, and 0 plus 3 is 3. So y equals 3. And I did this wrong on the x. Sorry. The x-intercept is negative 3. We have to go on x to negative 3, not y. My mistake. And the y-intercept is 3. Y goes up to 3. And you draw your line. And that's it for today on x and y intercepts. Have a nice night. Sorry it was so long. And